Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about something that I find quite interesting. As you've seen by the thumbnail of this video, I wanted to talk about what perhaps is the last story, chronologically speaking, in the Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe. Probably popularly, everyone would assume Legacy 2, issue number 18, is the last issue of the Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe timeline. There's actually a Tales short comic called The Storyteller that tells the story of an ancient C3PO recounting the movies to a new generation who are going to continue on fighting with a lightsaber, and then C3PO dies. It's quite an interesting story. It's quite dark. It's kind of sad yet hopeful. It's like the turning of a page. The old generation of Star Wars is gone. There's a new one, and obviously that setup never went anywhere. But it's an interesting story. However, there's another story uh, from Star Wars Visionaries, which Star Wars Visionaries, if you don't know, was a graphic novel that was released with I think 10 stories in it, and the artists and people who worked on Revenge of the Sith worked on all of these stories. A lot of them are very artistic. There's some weird ones in there, like Wat Tambor and the Search for the Albino Cyclops Eye, or Sith Sis is a weird one. There's some weird stories in there for sure. And there's one called The Fourth Precept. And The Fourth Precept is a story that is wacky. It is out there. So I wanted to look at that with everyone today because I think The Fourth Precept is just kind of insane off the walls. It's really symbolic. It's very short. It's a 5-page short comic. So it won't take long to go through, but I just wanted to kind of read it with you guys and show you guys the panels and stuff like that from this comic. Now, Wikipedia incorrectly says it's a 6-page short comic. It's actually only 5 pages. It was written and drawn by Stephen Martinier. And I have tentatively placed this in my chronological timeline at 5000 ABY. But it's not necessarily taking place then. It could take place wherever you want it. But I'm going to talk about a little bit why the story is relevant now as well. It was published in 2005 by Dark Horse. It's a short comic. And yeah, so I just wanted to explain now, before we look at the story itself, why I think that this story matters now. Well, Marvel recently published Legacy, the Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, Legacy Volume 4. And in Volume 4, after Volume 4 contains Legacy 2, which is the series that focuses on Anya Solo, and it contains issues 1 to 18, which are all the stories with Anya Solo, which you might expect from the 4th volume of Legacy, since the first 3 epic collections featured all the Cade stories, all 55 issues. But at the end, it includes the storyteller, and it includes this story, implying and suggesting that this story is, chronologically speaking, the very last story in chronological order for the expanded universe. So let's take a look at this story. Okay, so this story starts off with this weird pod thing, as you can see, right? And it's got these circular things around it. It's kind of odd, right? And then you've got it opens up, and you've got 2 beings on either side with lightsabers. Notice one of them is dark and one of them is light, because this story is supposed to symbolize the battle of light versus darkness. So one of these robot-like beings represents light, one of them represents darkness. Notice how futuristic they look. They look like how we depict evil AI in our futuristic apocalyptic movies. When the AI turns bad, I feel like these are a visual depiction of what they kind of look like when we depict them. So what's going on here is there's this weird pod thing. Could it be like ancient Rakatan technology? Could it be linked to the Thoyor? Now I'm just reading into it. But it opens up, and there's these 2 beings that fight on either side. This seems to be in the stars themselves, in space, in nebulas, maybe even on a meta level. Maybe it's not just the physical world of stars. Maybe it also goes into the metaphysical as well. Maybe more afterlives or subconscious levels of reality and existence. because as you'll see, they're not just like fighting in the stars later on. And then they both have lightsabers, which is interesting. Their lightsabers are the same color, but they both have lightsabers with which they're going to battle each other. And so flipping over to the second page, looks like there's all these monsters and deities that like clash together. All of these supernatural forces. Maybe supernatural encounters will expand on what's going on here. Only time will tell, I suppose. But there's these demons and dragons and like creatures that are all like observing this pocket, this bubble of space where these two beings are fighting. And so I was wondering, do you think these monsters here are observing through that little bubble? That little bubble is the galaxy of Star Wars, and all of these beasts are just have been watching the galaxy unfold in that little bubble, because it appears like they're in this little bubble. So maybe are they watching this whole time, or are they actually taking part in the battle? Who's to say, right? And I should note there's no dialogue in this battle either. Then here we get what looks to be Mustafar at the top, with lava volcanoes erupting. Then at the bottom, notice that is clearly Coruscant on this page 3. And it looks like they're launching really futuristic ships, futuristic even for Star Wars. Even though Star Wars is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the technology is more futuristic than we have here, obviously. But this technology looks way more futuristic than anything from Star Wars. It looks almost Star Trek level of tech, right? And they're blasting off of Coruscant. So who's to say what's going on here? Then there's some beasts fighting on some planet, maybe Endor, I don't know. Then there's a water world that they show too. Is it Dak? Is it Mon Calamari? We don't know. And all the while, these two beings are fighting through the sky, like electrically. They have like these lightning bolts around them and these bubbles of energy and these lightsabers, and they're fighting there. And then we get this other panel that has this awesome looking skull thing. The tech there kind of reminded me of Yuzon Vong tech, but it's also very metal. It's weird because it's kind of heavy metal looking, this technology here. Is it a ship? I don't know. It's hard to tell what's going on there, but there's some planets, some stars. They continue fighting as two beams of light. One is lighter always than the other one. One is in dark armor, so it gives it a little shadow to it. One is it fully light and white. But they're still both glowing, and they're fighting it with these little trails. This panel down here on the bottom right is incredible. It looks fantastic. It's got this like it's got the robots fighting again, and it just looks great because there's these nebulas behind them, so the art looks fantastic there. And moving on to the final panel, it looks like it's like a anti-Big Bang. It's like something happens. It's like the formation or destruction of a galaxy or of a star. Something's happening, right? I don't know what, but something's happening. So it says end, and it doesn't say the end, but it says end there. So is it the end of the galaxy as we know it? Is that the destruction of the galaxy wrought by these beings fighting each other? And notice how they kind of merge into one. They're almost like one entity now. So it's like signifying that light and dark can come together. And then all of these little red things at the bottom that are glowing, I don't know what those are, but are those midichlorians? I wondered if those are midichlorians there. This obviously can be interpreted how you want to interpret it. It's very artistic. It's very mythological. There's something very well. It's an artistic take on light versus dark. But there's also some little things that you could read into. Like this is clearly Coruscant back on this slide. So there is some lore stuff going on here as well. But did these two beings, this manifestation of light and dark, did these two robots that represent this destroy the galaxy itself? Because at the top there's this massive explosion. Is that the Star Wars galaxy being destroyed? Or is it the creation of a new galaxy? Is it saying that's where the story ends and this is where it will begin, in a similar way to the storyteller? I really love the art here. It's done really well. You could read a lot into this, but at the same time it's very vague. Everyone could have a different take on what's going on here. So I wonder, let me know what you guys think of what's going on in this story. But it's quite interesting. This could be the last chronological Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe story, which comes in this form of a short comic from 2005. Because it was set in the some people I think thought it might be the first story, like maybe this was the creation of everything. But since it's in the Legacy Volume 4 Epic Collection, it clearly seems like this is the last story in order. That's the place that it was put when it was reprinted. So it seems like chronologically this is the last story. Um, you know, this story's fine. It's barely a story. It's more like art pieces that vaguely convey a message, but it's still pretty cool. I like it overall. What did you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments what you thought of the Fourth Precept. Uh, it's the last story in order. It's fine. It's interesting for sure. I just thought this was a really interesting topic that I really wanted to discuss. Um, so let me know what you guys think of the Fourth Precept, the last story to the Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe timeline in chronological order. This is where it ends for now.